All right, programming 12. I'm so excited. We're going to be moving, well, in both tabs, we're going to be moving back to our first tab. And what I'd like to do is switch over from using arrays and start using the array list. It's going to be great, but possibly confusing as we get started. Quick rationale as to why we are doing this. Number one, arrays, when you create them, you kind of have to fill them with the things at the beginning of the sketch, right? Like in our setup, we loop through our array, we build all the movers, and that's great for a lot of projects, but it's not great for other projects. An example would be if we wanted to make a game where you could shoot a gun, whatever, spaceships, pew pew, flying around. You don't want to have to make every single bullet that you're going to shoot at the beginning of the game. You just want to make the bullet the moment you press the trigger, or press the key or whatever you use to shoot. That would be ideal. Another thing is we would like to destroy these things at some point. We would like to get rid of them, because if we keep all the junk that's in the game, like imagine, like a first-person shooter game, and all the bullets are sitting around on the ground, and that's going to lag the game out eventually after all the bullets are flying. We want them to go away. We want things to go away. So that's our goal with array lists. They allow us to do these things. And that's what I refer to as dynamic object creation and destruction. We're able to make them and remove them from the game while the game is running, not just not just at the beginning of the game. So that's our goal. That's what we want to do. And the array list is a new data structure that will allow us to do this. Just a side note on data structures, array was the first one you learned, and there's so many data structures out there. Many of them are kind of built on the array. The array list actually secretly inside is an array. But they allow for new expressions of algorithms. They allow us to express new ideas, or at least do it more efficiently. So I can't wait to show you the array list, and yeah, keep an open mind, because it is going to be a little annoying. Some of the stuff we got to do is the syntax will be different, and it might be a little bit tough. Okay, so anyways, let's go. Let's get started. You'll see a lot of errors as we move forward. But what we're going to be doing now, instead of an array, we're going to make this dynamic structure called the array list. So it looks like this. Array list is, just like I said, note the capital L, and then you put in angle brackets, kind of like HTML tags, or the greater than, less than signs, the name of the type of object which the array list will store. So I'll put in mover. Okay, so there we go. We have an array list now instead of an array. So how do you then go instantiate? Well, now we got to instantiate this thing. We're not doing an array anymore. We're going to do an array list. Whoa, I don't know what I did. Array list. So I am going to say movers equals new array list. Like so. Now, interestingly, something that's different here already, like this might make, fairly good sense, but you might be wondering, what about number of movers? What about it? We don't need it anymore. Isn't that, we might need it for like some kind of system of a certain number, but when we make the array list, we don't need it because it can grow and shrink. It can start with 0 movers in it, and that's okay. Our array couldn't do that because we had to specify right now how many movers you must choose. But with array lists, I can choose whenever I want, and I can change it. I can move, I can subtract them, I can add them. So this is really nice. You don't have to plan it out. Let's just assume we're going to add 50 movers into our array list at the beginning, but later we'll see how we can make this more dynamic, okay? So let's do it. So sure, let's go ahead and add a bunch of movers. So instead of this syntax, because right now, like the array, the good old array syntax was, we have 50 slots, 4 movers. They are numbered 0 through 49. We'll start with 0. We'll add a mover and we'll put it in there. And then we'll go to the next one. It'll be 1. We'll stick a mover in there. And then we'll go to 2. And we'll so on and so on. But now we don't have those slots. They don't exist yet. So what we can just do is use something called the add method of the array list. Oh, I don't know what I did. I can say, instead of that syntax, I can say movers dot add new mover. So I'm still calling the mover constructor, right? I'm still adding a mover, but I'm just adding it to the end of the list. So the first time this loop runs, I'm adding it into element 0, and the next time I'm adding it into element 1. That's all automatic because it just automatically adds to that. Technically, the add method allows you, if you wanted to put like, something in here, you can put in an index of where you would like to add it, and it will insert it into an existing array list. But for the most part, we're not going to need that. We'll just add movers, and it'll just put it on the end of the list. So essentially, we'll get the same structure as before. We'll have 50 movers in this data structure. They're numbered 0 through 49, and we'll see that later, how we can access them. But yeah, that's not really a lot different. So we'll have to come back in the next video to see how we can make it spicier, like what ArrayLists will let us do. But we're just seeing the nuts and bolts right now. Okay, so moving on. Now we have to, still do this, but that's not how you access movers inside of an array list. The square brackets, that's not a thing in array lists. They have something else. So I'll show you what they have. They have a get function. So what I can say is, instead of movers sub I can say movers dot get I. And it's a little bit different than the square brackets, but essentially for this one-way purpose, we're accessing. We can't use it to assign. We can't use it to change the mover that's there, but we can use it to access it. So we just say movers.getI, movers.getI. Now I'm saying the word .getI, and like you're gonna hear me say getI, 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 getI. You're gonna get real sick of hearing me say getI, and sometimes people will be like, "What's getI, getI?" And just like it's almost like you're saying Jedi or something. You're just kind of crazy. So let me explain what it's doing. This is getting a mover out of the array list at index I. When I is 0, it's going to get mover number 0. When it's 5, it's going to get mover number 5, and so on. Now, I don't love programming it this way. This is fine. This works. But I like to make a separate line where I make a temporary mover, and I work from that. So instead of saying this, I'm going to make a temporary mover called M. And I'm going to say equals movers.get I. So what this is doing is it's kind of getting the mover at index I out, and it's going to give it a temporary name. I just give it like M, just like I don't want to waste too much time with it. You could give it my mover is a more common way of going about it. And then you can just refer to, instead of saying movers.getI, 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 you can just say M. So I can just say M, M, M. And that looks a little cleaner to my eye. You just have to do this one time, and then you can just kind of refer to whatever that mover is. Okay, so there you go. That's the nuts and bolts. Essentially, it's the same because we're not really leveraging the cool things ArrayLists can do yet, but we just want to see how the syntax is different from arrays. Okay? So getI is a handy thing for, pulling out movers or whatever your list contains, getting those things out of the list, and then we can, tell each individual mover to do their things. So now we got to go over to the mover class itself, because our movers are accessing the array list. So now we have to convert them over to work with an array list. So what do you think? What do we need to do? Well, we can't do this, right? We have to have movers.getI. Again, I don't really want to say movers.getI.location.x. That's like, look at this. We could do this. But there's like, 3 periods. Like this is just, it's just not good. So what I'm going to do instead of that is I'm going to do the same kind of thing where I get a mover and give it a temporary name. I'm going to call it other equals movers.getI. Because that's kind of what we're doing, right? We're looking at the other movers. So I think other is a good word for describing those. I think you could use M. please feel free if you thought that was very efficient. But this word, I think, makes more sense. So now instead of saying movers.get, I can say other. And that kind of makes sense. It's like, here's our current one, and here's our other one. So I can replace that also with other. And I think we have to do these ones with other as well. So yeah, so that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. If I've done my job right, I think we're good to go. Let's run it. Yeah, it's working, right? It's doing a good thing. It hasn't really changed very much. So in our next video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it dynamic. So this is just what is the new syntax for using array lists, kind of converting directly from an array. Now we're gonna go, and then the next video, we're gonna see how we can, create our movers on the fly, and how we can even kill the movers, how we can get rid of the movers. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see. Okay, so thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in our next one for like the biggest new thing we've done in Programming 12 so far. Okay, thanks everybody.